Michigan International Speedway on a warm and humid summer afternoon where there's a little extra buzz of excitement for today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. After a spectacular debut at Daytona a month ago, the next generation NASCAR Nationwide Series cars back on the track for a second go. At the home track of the Detroit Big Three, the Mustangs, Challengers, and Impalas will take on the Camrys on this big, fast 2-mile track that's long been a favorite of drivers and fans. Last year's race here came down to a spectacular 3-wide finish with local Michigan native Brad Keselowski squeezing past Kyle Busch and Brian Vickers for the win. What'll it be today? Who'll win by a nose in Michigan?
10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ignition.
ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown for the once-a-year visit by the NASCAR Nationwide Series to the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. It only seems fitting that at the track most of the automakers participating in NASCAR call home, the cars would be the stars of the show. Things like character lines and brand identification on NASCAR's next-generation race car, adding some extra spice to the usual field of star drivers and heated competition that this 2010 season has given us. Final practice for the Sprint Cup cars is finishing up. While they finish dialing in their race cars, we'll keep our attention dialed in on the Nationwide Series, where qualifying finished up not that long ago. Colin Brown, who's had a season that's been quite difficult and challenging at times, ripped off the 3rd quickest time. He'll start inside row number 2 today. The real story was who qualified second. 18-year-old Ryan Truex, making just his 2nd ever Nationwide Series start, will do so from the 2nd position. Great effort for Martin's little brother. But on the pole, to the surprise of few, Michigan native and Nationwide Series championship leader Brad Keselowski, who powered his Penske Dodge to his 5th pole of the season. We'll hear from the pole winner in a bit. First, how about that young kid who's going to start on the front row in his first time at Michigan? 18-year-old Ryan Truex is with Vince Welch.
That's right, AB, and that means Diamond Waltrip Racing missed by just 1 spot of having the pole position for the 5th race in a row, but a job well done. Your last race was in the NASCAR E-Series on a 3/8 mile track, and now you're on a 2-mile track in a Nationwide car. Ryan, what's that transition been like for you?
It's been crazy. I've had a lot of fun so far this weekend. Learned a lot. Leaned on my brother a lot for advice. It's just been going great so far. Qualified 2nd, and I'm really happy with that. And just shows how hard everyone's been working back at MWR. And it's been giving us great cars. Trevor's been running good. He's got past 3 poles, and then Marcus got a pole last weekend at Watkins, Glen. So we've been running great, having good cars, and that just gives me more confidence coming into it.
I know your brother Martin's been in the garage quite a bit over the course of the weekend. What advice has he given you? Where have you leaned on him this weekend?
He told me it's a little scary, and it definitely was. I came in here the first day, and I was following, I think it was Kyle Busch, and I started letting off in the corner. He just kept on driving her in there, and I thought it was a little crazy to drive it in that far, and then I went into qualifying. I never let off, so it's definitely something I had to learn. You got to learn that the air will hold you here, and you can really lean on it. So been just having fun with it, and we got Napa on with us this weekend, and we got a new sponsor, tow truck in a box. So we're happy to have them on board, and we're just having a great weekend so far.
So far, so good. Ryan Truex will start 2nd, Alan.
All right, Vince, thanks. Let's begin our look ahead to today's race by looking back at the Daytona debut of the next generation Nationwide Series car, a debut that was, by most reviews, spectacular. Always a thrill to be at Daytona International Speedway and the debut of the next generation race car.
I am so excited to be here at Daytona to see these new looking race cars. It's great for our fans. I'm fired up.
Pace car is off 100 laps ahead as the 2 Dodges from the Penske team bring the field to the green flag. How about this? The 3 car to the lead on the 3rd lap at Daytona.
How appropriate this is.
The new leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., shuffled by Kyle Busch.
Junior's car makes this pass really look pretty easy. Man, Joey Logano's all over it.
Stenhouse in the mix in the 6 car.
He's had a great run all night.
Here they come to the checkered flag, and Earnhardt is going to drive a number 3 car to victory lane at Daytona again. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins.
I don't know if it's you guys, but that's chills right there.
Connor Jr., I appreciate your work, man. I love winning races with you, buddy.
Man, you know, we lost everything here, and to come back with that number and do this, that means everything.
His father would be extremely proud.
Some great memories on that night, and hoping for some more great memories today here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. A beautiful summer spot. We're set among the rolling hills and lakes sits the spectacular speedway and our ESPN pit studio, where we're waiting on someone to bring us some cake. Inside, Alan Bestwick with Big Brad Daugherty and 5-time Michigan winner and birthday boy Rusty Wallace, 39 again, right?
Well, thank you very much. Let's move on.
All right. It is the second race for the next generation Nationwide Series car. Traditionally, you'd expect the Michigan race to be different than a Daytona race. How will this race be different than Daytona, and how might it be similar?
Well, I think the race is going to be a lot different than Daytona because the track's much, much wider, and the drivers really don't know what to expect out of this car yet. I mean, they did have more practice in Daytona than they have had here in Michigan. Now, a lot of the drivers have told me, guys, that this car has an unbelievable closing rate, meaning if you're behind a car, you can drive up to their bumper awful fast. And they think that that might create some four-wide racing as these cars get down in the corner. So, Brad, is yet to be seen.
Yeah, I tell you what it is for me. I think it's going to give opportunity to level the playing field. We've been watching these Gibbs Toyotas kick everybody's rear end all year long. I think now you have to throw away all of your notes. You got a fresh platform. It's going to give some of these teams an opportunity to catch up, level that playing field. You still got to beat Joey Logano and Kyle Busch at the end of the day, but hopefully you can race with them a little bit with this new car.
It's going to be interesting to see. We'll talk more about that a little later in the show. New car, old car, this Michigan track, one the drivers have always loved competing on. Why?
The main reason the drivers love coming here because they want to show off to the big three, number one. Number two is they really like the size of the racetrack. This 2-mile track, very wide. Like I mentioned a little while ago, we might see some 4-wide racing, 3-wide. I know we'll see side-by-side racing at least. Yeah, the drivers like that,
You're
guys.
Exactly right. And what these guys find throughout the day is that they can find grip at different places. They run their lines, and they try to maximize their speed, and as it falls off, they can search around and find a little grip up high, find a little grip down low. Great racing room like Rusty talked about, but it also gives your car a chance to maintain speed because of those grip patches.
They see 4-wide racing today, and they cut to that camera inside the pit studio. You might see 3 guys standing on their feet.
Oh, yeah, ain't no doubt about that.
Maybe 2 of us, because one of us would bump his head on the ceiling. Coming up, lots more on the Michigan debut of the new Nationwide Series car and why at least one manufacturer says it's rethinking its commitment to the series in a positive way. Andy Petrie gives us a refresher on the differences between the car the series has been racing and the one you'll see today. And Danica Patrick's back for another go with a new car twist thrown in. All that on NASCAR Countdown from Michigan. Goodyear Blimp with us today at the races. Go to Goodyear.com to show your thanks and help support our troops. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. The cars lined up along the grid ready for the second race for the NASCAR Nationwide Series Next Generation car. For a comparison between the car the series has been using and the new car, we sent one of our champion crew chiefs to the shops of one of the series' top teams.
I'm Andy Petrie, and we're here at Penske Racing with Chad Walter, the crew chief for Justin Allgaier. NASCAR is going to run a new car in the Nationwide Series this year, and the car looks quite different.
Yeah, the folks at Dodge have done a really good job, Andy, with the Challenger, something the fans can really relate to when they see Justin Allgaier out on the racetrack.
One of the biggest features that I see is that this car has a splitter on the bottom.
The new Nationwide car, just like their counterparts in the Cup Series, have the splitter this year, which is a real big aid to balancing out and getting front downforce that the drivers are always wanting. And when we hit the racetrack with it, it doesn't just grind away like our old Valences that you see behind us on the old cars.
Chad, let's talk about this area of the car. This is what I call the greenhouse, and I guess we call it a greenhouse because it's the part of the car that has all the windows.
The first order of business was safety for the drivers. We were able to move the driver further away from the door. That's very important for left side impacts. We had a lot of instances with these cars where if we got into a crash or a roll situation where the roll bars, the halo bars over the driver's heads were just getting too close. So what they wanted to do was stand up the windshield, raise the roof of the car, widen out the doors and the windows on the sides, and give these drivers some room in the event of a bad crash.
One thing that stands out that's probably not obvious when you look at it is the wheelbase. It's 5 inches longer on the new car.
The Cup guys are running the 110-inch wheelbase, whereas the Nationwide Series has always run the 105-inch wheelbase, but we're trying to bridge that gap here with this changeover.
When I look at the new car, I see the spoilers are different.
It's a little bit wider along with the race car and a little bit lower